If you think a community like Cumming, Georgia wouldn't be all that different after 3 short years, boy, you are in for a surprise. Because I'm going to give you some of the latest developments, both good and bad, on life in this North Atlanta suburb. Plus, I've got some real numbers and hard data on homes currently for sale, as well as homes that are recently closed. Cumming has become more expensive, but is it too expensive? Is Forsyth County's crown jewel worth the drive? Let's find out. I'm Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes, helping people from all over the country find their dream home here in Metro Atlanta. And if you're curious about the Metro Atlanta area, go ahead and check out my other videos where I cover a lot of ground about the entire Metro Atlanta area. Now, 3 years ago, in a previous video about Cumming, I was mentioning that it was a little bit pricier than some other areas. But what do you get for the money? Is Cumming worth it? Fortunately, there have been some substantial developments that complement some of Cumming's natural landscape and the active lifestyle of its people. Cumming, Georgia sits entirely in Forsyth County, Georgia. The easiest way to get to Cumming is by interstate, and that's the first big improvement, I can tell you, Georgia 400. In my video a few years ago, I told you what a long commute it is from Cumming to Atlanta, and while that's still true, Cumming to Alpharetta is a much more realistic commute. Also, there has been one very big improvement to 400. The interchanges connecting Georgia 400 to I-85 and to I-285 have finally been completed. A few years ago, we experienced closed lanes, choppy sections of on-ramps, and plenty of backed up traffic with detours that were confusing and downright scary at night. Georgia 400 dumps right into I-85 and 75 southbound into downtown Atlanta, but 400 now much more easily connects to I-85 northbound for trips to all the other parts of Atlanta. And the Georgia DOT has been working on an expansion of 400 with new tolled express lanes to be built. The 16-mile stretch starts from exit 5C, that's Abernathy Road, and will continue north on 400 to just beyond exit 12, which is McFarland Parkway. That is just one exit from the first Cumming exit, and when that expansion is complete, it will help a lot. Here's another thing Cumming has that makes it a unique place to live: nature. Besides an abundance of trees and several public parks, Cumming is in close proximity to the lake, the mountains, and fantastic natural and tourist destinations in North Georgia. Part of Cumming abuts Lake Lanier Islands for boating, fishing, picnicking, and even a new water park for kids. Sawney Mountain Preserve is a designated 963 acres of public land with hiking trails to the top of the mountain for outstanding views, and there are several trails you can walk for various fitness challenges. Just west of Cumming in Ball Ground, Georgia, you can have an enchanted afternoon strolling through Gibbs Gardens. This one-of-a-kind private nature preserve features walking paths through Japanese gardens, ponds with water lilies, and an amazing display of flowers and foliage unique to each season. Every kind of flower you can imagine in spring and summer or the fall, azaleas and Japanese maples are not to be missed. This whole area of Cumming and its surroundings is a gateway to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Think road trips to explore the North Georgia mountains and quaint towns like historic Dahlonega, where you can enjoy antique shops or see the gold mining museum. And you can actually mine for gold. Not far from Dahlonega is Helen, Georgia, a little village that transports you to Bavaria, where you can dine on authentic German cuisine after a day of ziplining or tubing. So lots of nature, fresh air, and exploring to be done, both in and around Cumming. Need a third good reason to live here? New construction homes. Lots and lots of newly built homes, and not just single family structures that used to dot this area. There are condos and townhouses that have also been built. The Providence Group has created several new condominium and townhome communities that start in the mid-300,000s, like Market Square at Sawney Village or Waterhaven, also Palisades, and finally Promenade at Sawney Village, just to name a few. Tally Creek Estates is a new D.R. Horton single-family community near Sawney Mountain with plenty of space, starting in the high 500,000s. If you'd prefer to live right at Lake Lanier, Peachtree Residential is building a community called Arden on Lanier with both traditional home plans and modern farmhouses with several move-in ready now. These luxury single-family homes range from $800,000 to over $1 million. Another new community is called Setting Down Farms, which is a David Weekley community with homes starting in the 600,000s. And one of the biggest and most talked about communities comes from none other than the national developer, the Toll Brothers. It's called The Crossing at Coal Mountain. In the still being built mega complex, you will have retail, office space, apartments, casual dining, and personal maintenance shops. And the Toll Brothers are building a master plan community of townhomes and single-family homes starting in the mid-500,000s. This developer has been very busy in other parts of Cumming as well. Southbrook community of luxury single-family homes is not far from Cold Mountain, and also not far away, they've created more luxe living in Jason's Walk. And even more luxurious than that, if you can believe it, is their Bridalfield community. These single-family estates start in the 800,000s and go up to $1 million plus. Honestly, there just isn't enough time to show you all the different areas of Cumming with new housing developments because this market is absolutely exploding. Actually, Forsyth County in general is too, because there's just so much undeveloped land. You've seen that Alpharetta and other parts of North Fulton are, well, not quite tapped out, but they're getting there. And I've just shown you how pricey some of these new homes can be here. But is Cumming too expensive? Be sure to stick around because the new construction in Cumming, while generally a bit higher, is not the whole story here. In a few minutes, I'll give you some very real housing numbers about what you can expect to pay as a buyer. But I won't lie to you, there are some downsides to living here. For one thing, as much as I talked up Georgia 400's improvements, a daily commute toward Atlanta during rush hour is still a beast. And that's if you're lucky enough to live very close to the interstate. For those tucked back into neighborhoods like near Sawney Mountain, Lake Lanier, or worse, Cold Mountain, not at all convenient Monday through Friday. But those northern parts of Cumming can work out for you. The key will be if you have the flexibility in where and when you work. Now, another slight negative that I mentioned in my prior video is that there really isn't a downtown Cumming. And like Atlanta in general, Cumming is very spread out and there's really not just one area all the locals gather at. In fact, because there are so many different types of communities in Cumming, the residents don't all agree on what's worth driving to. The operative word here is driving, because just like Atlanta, Cumming is not a walking city. A few gathering places have attempted to corral folks, such as City Center, a recently created mixed-use development of shops and restaurants with a small amphitheater and lawn for outdoor concerts. But there aren't any citywide events happening at City Center. A mile and a half away in the actual downtown district is where you do courthouse business and the sheriff has an office. There are a few older businesses and small restaurants, as well as a community playhouse and an historic former school building. And 3 miles from that is the Cumming Fairgrounds. Now, the fairgrounds probably comes closest to a community gathering place. This is where Cumming has regular actual rodeos. Seriously, rough stock rodeos and stock car races are held here, in addition to a few area high school graduation ceremonies. There's also an annual fair and festival, but the big event here is Cumming's annual 4th of July fireworks show. So there are places to gather, but the entire city of Cumming is far too spread out to walk to any of these places. So this is not the place for a small town ambiance, because Cumming is now much more cosmopolitan. And in fact, other than the parks and natural landscape, parts of Cumming are looking more and more like Alpharetta as time goes on. Sure, there are some areas near Sawney Mountain or close to Ducktown where you'll see some actual cows or horses on properties, but development and the more sophisticated taste of the people here has definitely made Cumming bow to progress. Here's a not so great thing about Cumming that has not changed. Cumming is neither diverse nor liberal. Despite about 11,500 residents so far in 2026, Cumming is still over 66% white and almost 11% Asian, especially South Asian. There are about 10.5% of mixed race people and only 7% black. If you lived in more culturally rich areas like Atlanta or any other place in the country, you should know this going in. Cumming is the last stop of what's considered Metro Atlanta, so the people here are not as diverse or politically left-leaning as the residents in suburbs closer to Atlanta. Now, all that to say, this might actually fit what you're looking for, so this could definitely be a pro. It could go either way. Now, this is probably the biggest factor that may make moving to Cumming something to think long and hard about: the cost of homes here. Because home prices are even higher than what I told you a few years ago. The median listing price of homes for sale in early 2026 is $701,937. That's significant. Now, does this mean you can't find a bargain here? Absolutely not. There are a handful of homes in Cumming that are in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, but more in the 400s and 500s. Then it gets really pricey depending on location and amenities. During the last few months, the median price of homes sold in Cumming was $600,000, and the median age for those sold homes, 20 years old. That tells you that this area of North Atlanta has sellers who take good care of their properties and that the homes have held their value. And compared to the original list price, these homes have sold at 97% of the asking price. Sellers in the last few months have also paid a median amount of $5,000 in closing costs contribution to the buyers, not as much as some neighboring towns and cities. Another interesting real estate fact, Cumming did not used to have a lot of townhomes or condos, so buyer was limited to mostly single-family homes. Fortunately, even now, new construction multi-family dwellings are giving interested buyers more choice and more affordability. In fact, of 41 townhomes recently sold in Cumming, the median price was just $400,000. And with the new developments, especially the master plan communities being developed, Cumming, Georgia may not be entirely out of reach for the average home buyer. But knowing how expensive it is, you may be wondering if Cumming is still worth it. I'd say yes. This area has become even more worth it than it was before, and let me tell you why. Schools are excellent in Forsyth County, ranking A+, and a couple are among some of the best in the state. The graduation rates are well over 90%, and Cumming boasts the #3 high school in the entire state of Georgia, Alliance Academy for Innovation, which uniquely prepares students for success by providing simulated work environments, internships, and help receiving industry certifications. Naturally, entry is only by lottery, but North Forsyth, South Forsyth, and West Forsyth high schools all have excellent overall SAT and ACT scores, along with reasonable student-teacher ratios. So do your research, but I think you'll find that the Forsyth County public education system is excellent at preparing young people for the future. What else do families want in a community? My wife would tell you, it's shopping. And shopping could not be better in or near Cumming, because this city is just metropolitan enough for all the big retail chains to be represented throughout the city. But not far away, up Georgia 400 is one of the top outlet malls in the area, and I'm talking about North Georgia Premium Outlets, where virtually every luxury brand has a store. I already mentioned the crossing at Coal Mountain, which is expected to open this year. Grocers, retail, and restaurants will populate the center, which will serve as a sort of hub for residents in North Cumming. In Central Cumming is community outdoor mall called Vickery Village. If shopping locally is important to you, this neighborhood favorite is home to mostly locally owned stores, restaurants, and specialty service shops, as well as the Forsyth County's family YMCA. For more of a larger outdoor mall with more big-name nationally owned shops and restaurants, look no further than The Collection at Forsyth. The Collection is conveniently located at Georgia 400 on Peachtree Parkway and has a huge Barnes & Noble store, along with both specialty shops, casual dining, and some locally owned gift shops. A cheesecake factory will open in the mall in late 2026 and be the first location in Forsyth County. Across the street from The Collection, Cumming's first Whole Foods is being built, and locals here can't wait. Further south, one exit down on 400, is the mega complex Halcyon. Oh yes, technically it's considered Alpharetta, but it's close enough for Cumming residents to frequent the mall, whether for fun eateries and coffee or brew places, but also for the new Trader Joe's. Long story short, you wouldn't miss out on a thing if you wanted to call Cumming home. So to sum it up, Cumming, Georgia can be pricey, but it can also be fun, giving people a unique mix of nature, open spaces, proximity to other areas both north and south, and a cosmopolitan feel with the modern conveniences we've come to love. And on top of all that, some of the most beautiful homes in Metro Atlanta. You can check out all my videos on everything about home buying, home selling, and life in Atlanta. But I really believe that the North Atlanta suburbs is the best of Atlanta. So I'm Tim Trevathan, help people find their dream home. And if you're in the market looking to buy, I can definitely help you. Or if you're home selling in the Metro Atlanta area so that you can go to Cumming and enjoy the lifestyle that Cumming has to offer, I can help you with that too. Until then, catch you on the next video.